people that, are in golf posture and they stand up immediately, they're never going to have power and lag because it's already gone. There's a difference between extending the hips this way, firing hips forward, and going vertical out of posture. But right, this doesn't do anything.
Okay,
this
you lost
doesn't
me
do
there.
anything.
And there's your highlight reel. There's your
This is
highlight
what you
reel.
get.
This is hard.
That's what you get when you don't let me stand up.
We're both single right now, and you're.
That wolf's getting more action than I have in a year. Man.
Look, this is.
Bring it to the party on Saturday. We can do we'll set up a table for you. We'll do some live interviews.
Been meaning to tell you, heartbreaking news. I can't make the party. I have monster truck tickets for my son. So I didn't realize that. And I was like, he's so into monster trucks, and that was his Christmas present. And I looked at the date, I was like, oh, that's Mike's party. And it's like the exact same time. There's no way. But if it's any consolation, I'm also missing the Panthers' first playoff game in like a decade to go to monster trucks. So,
well, I took my kids to monster truck. It was like the last thing you could do before like everything shut down for COVID. And literally like the next weekend everything was shut down. But it's a great time. Just bring your earplugs. But I mean the boys had a blast. I went as a kid, so you'll have a good
I
time.
was never really big into monster trucks as a kid, and he's like,
Digger.
yeah.
Hey, he's
He's
still
like-
there. He's still doing it.
Dude, he's obsessed with these things. Like he's found this little video on YouTube Kids, and he's been singing this monster truck theme song for like 2 weeks. Like every time I walk through, he's singing this song. So it's about to get on my nerves, honestly. But yeah, he's pretty pumped. So well, welcome to listeners and viewers to the best golf podcast ever with Mike Hendricks and Tony Rosselli. I'm Garrett Lill. I assure you, this is the best golf podcast ever. I've checked out probably 2 others, and we're definitely the best. So
Not even close.
not even close.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
we're
right.
way better. We're way better than what you've been listening to. So you're you're in for a treat. A funny little story. I think I texted you guys this. They had an incident at Sully's this week. This is like
I need
my
to
big
play-by-play of this.
Well, I wasn't there, so I can only give you the hearsay version. When you first walk in, there's the first bay right there in front of you, and it was hit from that bay. And I just did a little geometry when I was looking at this hole. I mean, the hole is like this big. It is gigantic. And I did the geometry on this, and I'm like, if it crossed here and was struck from there, it's like reconstructing like a shot in pool, right? Like there's only so many lines that it could take in, and it's like, that thing had to just about go through the guy's head. He was lucky. And if it had that much speed to break I think, double pane glass 40 feet the other direction, that thing had some velocity when it crossed his face. So that was, glad nobody got hurt. Anyway, so if this makes it into the show, sorry. Well, if it makes it into the show and y'all happen to hear this one, sorry for your loss on the window there. But, and then ironically, like 2 days later, I got an email from them that they were increasing dues like $8 a month moving forward. And I'm like, are these connected?
Window.
They just realized we need to bake in we need to bake in a little bit more liability into the monthly dues, apparently. So
that definitely
anyway.
brings up an important point about safety in golf. I wrote a paper for a sport law journal years ago on assessment of risk and aversion of risk in golf, and is looking at a bunch of different lawsuits or attempted lawsuits in the golf space. But from a realistic standpoint, you look at those metal pole, cages, and there's only so much foaming you can do. And even then, if you hit it just right, that golf ball's coming so fast, it's going to ricochet. One of my former students, alumni now, he was working at a place in the area, not to be named, and he hit a golf ball and it ricocheted off and hit him right in the tooth, and he ended up losing a tooth. He's a great player. Like, he hit a good shot. It just hit the pipe, So I don't know what the better layout is, because they need the structural integrity to house that many bays, right? But at the same time, you'd think there'd be a better way to protect the ricochet effect.
Well, and it's easy to. I mean, I've seen enough of those things, you're in there practicing and you hear the ricochet balls and everybody kind of instinctively ducks and it's usually nowhere close to you. I've never really been like literally fearful in there until the other night. I had my kids with me on New Year's Eve for the one club scramble, and I did tell them like, stay over here by the putting green and don't go back there because they don't know to look out for it. And I was just telling them to be careful. And then it was like 2 days later, I found out about the ricochet ball, and I was like, ew, okay. But it's easy to kind of judge and be like, yeah, bad players. I've hit the pole before. It doesn't take that. I mean, and kind of on both sides too. When I hit a lob wedge, I hit that thing so daggone high that it almost hits the upright pole or the crossbar.
Correct. Yep.
So it's not that crazy to think you could do that. I've seen somebody. I took a buddy in there for the Super Bowl last year, and he skied a driver over the top of the pole, and it like went up the ceiling tile. So there's a few of those, but it's easier to it can happen. It's easier than you think. So yeah, you gotta.
Yeah, I think the only real actual feasible way to do it costs more money, but you build the structure, you put the net, and then you add in canvas pieces in front of the pole that have about this much space behind the pole, in between the pole and the canvas, such that if the ball hits the canvas, it never reaches the pole. Put them in the corners, and you put them in the top. It's just more money, for a 1 in a million incident, but still.
Yeah. Well, you get enough golf balls hit there, and 1 in a million plays itself out, I guess, eventually.
That's right.
Yeah,
The odds happen.
Especially with you having 2 memberships. That's good.
Hey, man. So I was. That kind of segues me a little bit. So because I was on, I knew the way December was going to go, that once the kids got out of school, I knew I was pretty much shutting it down for the rest of the year. Cause it's just so hard to number one, kind of feel bad. I don't want to leave my kids here to go play golf. I don't mind doing it during the day, whether it's school, but I want to spend time with my kids, so I knew, I was probably gonna be shutting it down. And I also, with all these membership hours, it was like, I'm cramming as many as I could into like the first 2 weeks of December. So first couple of weeks, I mean, I was going in 3, sometimes 4 hours a day, leaving from there and going to the gym for an hour. So by the time like December 20th or whatever day it was got here, I was kind of I was a little torn. Like, I was actually sick of golf, and I love golf, but I was sick of it. I'd had about enough, but I was also playing really good. So I kind of hated to see the momentum get broken up too, but I didn't touch a club at all, I don't think, for like 8 days, something like that. I have to go back and look at the calendar, but I went into withdrawals there after a little while. I mean, it was not easy.
Started getting shakes and stuff.
Yeah, it was by about December 30th, I was struggling. But my first ball back, the first time I came back was the New Year's Eve challenge. One club, and I hit it absolutely terrible in the practice round and kind of got some things worked out. And in the tournament itself, I hit it fine, but I could not figure out how to putt with a 5-iron. That's a whole new skill set that I don't have, that I don't even know if that's worth practicing to do it once a year. And I have broken enough putters mid-round that I have had experience putting with irons and wedges and 3-woods and stuff before. But anyway, so yeah, I was actually starting to get a little burned out, but I'm just about back. Today's the last day that my youngest is out of school. My oldest went back yesterday, so I'll be back in it. I've been kind of easing back in this week, so be back to full steam pretty soon. I did get back to the gym yesterday, so I didn't completely break that momentum. But yeah, so Mike, on the gym stuff, I have a couple of questions for you. As I'm getting into now my second month working out, I'm getting to that point now where I'm starting to see maybe some variations that I want to do in my workout. Some of the, you guys gave me grief at the Christmas Eve party over there that apparently the internal hip adductors are not necessary for golf. That's not a machine I need to be caught dead on. Is that right?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a loaded question there. Yeah, it's just don't overload it, because it's easy to tweak stuff when your listeners don't know what that is. Where you sit down in the machine.
It's this machine.
Gyms,
it's
and you squeeze and release, or you can flip it around and you're pushing against it and you're going out and then bringing it back in. Yeah, it's one that you can. Yeah, I think it's great. You got to work on those hips, Garrett. That's where the power. There's a lot of power that can be generated in your glutes, and tapping into those. So yeah.
Well,
I had a client call it the good girl, bad girl. I'm sorry if that's but yeah, we're on.
That's it.
You can edit that out. You can edit.
No, that's okay. That's okay.
You
That's
could argue
very
you could argue that's good.
Good, good, a good exercise.
that may have to
Uh,
be edited out. But
that,
Mike's comment was fine. Tony might have crossed the line. So no, I think I'm ditching that one because I think I have a couple of other ways that I want to try. I try my best to come as close as I can to mimicking the golf movement in the gym as I can. I mean, you can't do it perfectly, but there's a way to work the muscle, and there's a way to work the muscle like you would use it in the golf swing, and it's not necessarily always the same thing. One example that I have for that is see, I'm really not sure what order I want to bring these things up because they all kind of tie together a little bit. But one of the variations I've been thinking about is doing like some type of a crossbody deadlift, where I do a deadlift where you just a regular barbell. But what if I turned my hips 45 degrees to the barbell and then had to turn over and stood up? I mean, I looked it up. Apparently, that term is not. I'm not inventing a new term. The term crossbody deadlift exists out there, but I might be inventing a new movement because I have not found anybody that's doing it that way, or if they are, I don't know what it's called. And it's hard to demonstrate like I am now, but I was thinking about I said all this ties together. Tony, when you've talked to me about I need to stop rotating, hell, I can't stop rotating. I'm trying to stop rotating, but it just keeps going. I need some type of a wall to hit to make me stop rotating, because if I try to stop rotating my hips, my upper body just keeps going, and it doesn't go well. But I know how the good players do it. It's not so much that they're trying to stop rotating. It's just as they extend their hips through impact, it forces the hips to stop rotating. You can't really rotate and extend at the same time, I guess. So I'm trying to figure out I really want to stand up and demonstrate this for you guys, but pop the hips.
As a fitness professional, all I say, especially if you're inventing new exercises, Garrett, please start light, start like really light, because the last thing you need to do is like rotate your body and then pick up something heavy when your spine is rotated. So just be careful when you're inventing new exercises in the gym. I think Tony would back me up on that. Start light, then trying to pick up something heavy when your torso or your body's flexed
Nah,
or
all gas,
rotated.
no brakes. Just go.
All right,
Well, I was gonna say
No,
always
basically
consult.
I was gonna say what you're describing. It sounds like a cable chop from low to high or high to low. That's what it sounds like. So I don't know
Hell, I'll
that you
show you.
need
Enough hearsay. I'm talking about standing
Hearsay.
this way, okay, and we turn this way,
Garrett. Let's not go sideways.
And then if I'm in this position, then for me to perform the deadlift, I first of all have to have more weight on my left side to do this. And then I just come right up out of it. And it's the same thing as that sort of. So if you're watching on YouTube, I'm very sorry for what you just saw. But
yeah, but so it's not the same. It's not the same thing. What I'm saying is a cable chop, low to high cable rotation would be more dynamic and more in that golf plane of motion.
Yeah,
so you would start with it low and you would rotate up this way, vice versa, and horizontal around this way.
That is so funny
but
that you say that, because I was doing those exact three movements with clients last week and this week as a kind of a warm up. I like exactly what you're saying, doing a cable chop and then a reverse chop where you're going low to high. You can use a rope or you can use a band, and then doing a horizontal left to right rotation. But I think what Tony's saying, he's using a band or a cable attachment, so you're not using like super heavy weight. You're just using a stack of weight on a pulley. But looked like what you were doing was like almost like a modified, like a drop step single leg deadlift almost, where you had like 1 foot behind you and then 1 foot in front, and you're like doing a single leg.
And full disclosure,
deadlift.
This has not escaped my brain other than demonstrating it for myself just to play around with it. I have not touched this in the actual weight room yet. I'm just playing around with ideas in my head. I just thought of it yesterday. I've seen a couple of, I saw another one that was kind of like a low to high kettlebell swing. That was another variation I thought might be a good thing. So I have no idea. When I try to actually do this, it may make no sense whatsoever. And I was not planning on loading the bar up with my max and trying that. I was going to start light and most importantly, consult a professional first, which is what I'm doing now. So I'm doing this as responsibly as I know how. But I'm toying around with just
Officer, I
different
had my
ways.
seatbelt on as I was drinking them beers while I was driving that truck. I was using my blinkers and everything.
Hey, be careful. If you can't be smart, at least be careful while
That's
you're
right.
doing it, right?
So
But anyway,
yeah, listening to you talk, I was doing some slide boards today, so I wonder if Garrett and Tony, maybe you can chime in on this too. Like, instead of if you're trying to rotate less, maybe work on some exercises where you're just doing weight shift with your lower body and you're not rotating. Like I don't know if you know what I'm talking about, but I had like where you put the booties on, like, you're sliding like a hockey player, the board slides, or even just
There's
lateral
a
hops,
very yeah,
you know,
yep. There's a
just something
movie
left to
from the
right.
'90s. Yeah, there's a movie from the '90s called Heavyweights, and in the camp they do the sliding, the gliding, and striding.
Yeah. Something where Garrett, you're doing less rotating and just more, weight shifting maybe.
yeah,
I'd have to get you back in the
it's a
weight room where we can kind of play around with it again.
yeah. We need to get another session for me to get in there. I'm almost out of content from the last one anyway to edit, so we need to. I want to get in there sometime and just kind of walk through with you what I've been doing because I do overall. I've really enjoyed the workout I've been doing because it feels like every single thing that I'm doing has a specific golf application to it, and I feel like it's been pretty effective so far as like helping me figure out which muscles to engage, how to engage, and when to engage, and all that kind of thing. It really has been kind of an addition to my practice time, as it tends to be a problem of mine or a tendency of mine. If something starts to work a little bit, then I start to get creative and figure out ways to make it work even better. And that's where we get into that all gas, no brakes. And before y'all know it, I will be doing like 360 box jumps with kettlebells just to see if I can do it. So I got to be careful not to get too creative with
While
Just
holding
this stuff.
something between your butt cheeks.
With your eyes
just
closed to work
record
on
it.
balance.
Whatever
Yeah.
whatever you do, record it, and we'll put it on hashtag gym fails somewhere.
There you go. Not because it'll be good content or actually help anybody, but it'll hit the comedy reel somewhere.
Cautionary tale.
Yeah, exactly. Legit question for you though, Mike, because that was legit too, but this is a little bit more serious. One of the things that I've been incorporating have been different variations of heavy carries, loaded carries, farmer carries, side carries, and one that I've been doing is like an overhead carry where you just take a kettlebell, hold it over your head, and the farmers and the side carries, I think I'm pretty good. With the overhead carries, I have to drop the weight a ton, first of all. And what I've been doing is walking like let's see, they're eighth of a mile laps. So I'll do like one lap, eighth of a mile. And I was thinking about it a little bit with the actual mechanics of the golf swing and when you're using those muscles. Is that working a little bit too much on endurance as opposed to what I'm getting at with that is, should I be doing a heavy weight for 30 yards as opposed to a lighter weight for 100 yards for those types of things? Or
that's a great question. I just love that. I love you could just kind of mix it up. It's a great way to, as Tony knows, for strength gains, like doing something heavy for a short amount of time. It can help you, instead of doing that lightweight for an eighth of a mile, you might be able to add some weight to that. No, I love all the different training protocols, man. They all work. It's just mixing it up. So maybe pick a day where you go heavier and you go a shorter distance. I love that. It's great for the shoulder girdle because there's so many guys with joint issues, and just being able to hold it in a lock position works that shoulder girdle. And also holding it from a bent elbow. The higher you have it over your head, you're going to need something lighter because you got to lock in that. Anytime you bend that elbow, then you've kind of changed the exercise. It's great for grip strength. So, I mean, the kettlebell has so many different uses. And what I love about you is you come up with so many different ways to do it. So go heavy. I would say, just start light, like we were talking about earlier. Start light, and just work your way up.
Mike is so afraid. Mike is so afraid I'm going to hurt myself. I don't know why. You have always been so afraid that I'm going to get hurt. That's a fair concern, to be fair, but it's even back to the beginning working with you, man. It was always like, don't get yourself hurt. And I didn't
My
understand at that time why you were so worried. I think now I have a better understanding of why that was such a concern of yours.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of like you are a bit of a wild man. You're a loose cannon in getting you in the gym. But also, I work with older guys and I what I love is when I get a chance to work with younger guys, like believe it or not, you are about to be 40. You are actually on the younger side of my clients and there's just more risk as you get older for injury, right? And so I love when I do get to work with younger guys like you that like remind me like, hey, we the risk tolerance we can go a little and also just from your assessment that we did a few months ago, like you can handle things a little bit more, but I've got clients with a lot of different limitations. So I'm like Tony would know, just like a doctor, when you take the Hippocratic Oath, do no harm. And so like for me, it's happened for me. I think anybody in this business on the gym side, you're working with somebody and you hear this, oh, yeah, they tweak something, and it may be something, like I got clients coming in sore with like sore upper backs where they're never sore. They're like, yeah, it took me 3 hours to get Christmas down, and they're like, I can't get rid of this pain in my back or behind my shoulder. Yeah, there's just as a trainer in this profession, it's the worst feeling when somebody gets hurt. But I love that you want to push yourself. So go heavy, baby. Just all increments. You may only have, on the kettlebell side, you may have like a really light one and a really heavy one. So that's where guys can get in trouble. They're like, I have a 15-pound and I got a 45-pound. And you can get in trouble that way.
Yeah, I was gonna say this earlier. If you survived my demonstration of the sideways deadlift, that was a great time to ask you to please subscribe to the channel, like the video if you're watching on YouTube, do all that kind of stuff. But if you made it through that, you're gonna enjoy the rest of the show. So you clearly like it. So just do that. It helps our algorithm a lot. It helps us become more popular on YouTube. 3 dudes, not a single wife between us, but we got like a dozen kids, so we got mouths to feed. If you could like, subscribe, do things to support, that'd be awesome. We appreciate it. So don't forget that. And I just
Eh,
want to say that if the only thing I took from that is that Mike basically said, "Go hard, you're good. Go hard, push yourself." What did the Eagles say? Take it to the limit one more time. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
you're
with you,
under
Mike.
50 and your physical assessment was perfect, so therefore all out. No,
All
well,
out.
all I was gonna say, same thing. So I'm kind of in a similar boat as Garrett, where I just started, getting back into my training and whatnot, and setting some goals. I'll just kind of share some from my stuff. So I basically started the ketogenic diet a month ago, and I have this goal, this vanity goal, to be shredded by 40. So June 26th, over the summer, me and my twin brother and good buddy, we're gonna go to Scotland, and we're planning this trip out and everything. I was like, well, I want to be shredded at 40 for this trip. Set a plan in place. All I know, I just have to eat right, cut out all the snacky snacks, the cookies, or the macaroons rather, the macaroons and all the chips that I love
Macaroon.
so much, and the excess. Macaroons are great when you're gluten free, but and then that's all the extra drinks that I don't need to be having each day. So started the keto thing, and today was 1 month, and I already lost 8 pounds. And the which is about as much as you can lose. Yeah, that's about as
Yep.
much as you can lose in a month. 2 pounds per week. So varying up the eating windows, shortening the eating windows to where you have longer fasting in between meals and whatnot. So it's been going good, and the workouts have felt good, slow and steady, understanding my body, understanding I am getting older and not trying to just go for the, one rep maxes anymore. Just do something. Again, just do something consistent. I'm going on more walks with the dog, this, that, and the other. And I didn't touch a golf club all break, so I had to do something to work towards improvement. But one of the things I was going to circle back to with Garrett was asking him about. He said he got kind of burned out on golf, or he wasn't enjoying it much. Can you imagine being a professional? So like you were basically almost on with the double Sully sessions and working out. and simulated rounds, if you were spending 3 to 5 hours a day on something golf related, that's almost a professional golfer type
Well, I was
routine,
spending 3 to 5
like
hours on documented. That's not even that's not even counting when I would come back home and look at the video or do drills or things like that. If especially during that stretch, if you were to take inventory of how many hours a day my mind was on golf, yeah, it's probably 8, 9 hours. Um,
but
I
so think
wanna
about that, and you got burned out. You almost got burned out in what, like a 2 month stretch of doing that, and these guys have to do this for 10 months out of the year or whatever it is. Like
yeah.
it's crazy, and it goes to show again too how we're always trying to find the balance between enjoying this game and getting better at it. And it is a balance because it's to get better. Oftentimes, you do have to put in more time, which cuts into your enjoyment, right? So it's just a slippery slope, but it's a necessary slope to find the balance for.
Well, and you can even get a little bit. Everything you just said was true, and I would add to it, maybe even taking it for granted a little bit. When you're not getting to play a lot, you find more joy in it when you get a chance to get out and play. But when you are in a position where you're able to play, 3, 4, 5 hours a day, even if it's not part of my burnout was physical. I mean, I was getting
Mhm.
tired, and it was just like I needed a break physically. But yeah, you're spot on there. I mean, for the guys, you heard like the video circulating of Tiger's workout plan. It was like get up, go to the gym for an hour, run 4 miles, go play 18 holes, hit balls for 3 hours, and then at the end of it, they tack on John Daly's play 18 holes, smoke a couple of cigarettes, drink 5 beers, and problem with me, I can't tell if I'm John Daly or Tiger. I think I want to be Tiger, but I've got a head like John, and I can't figure out who I am. So I'm just somewhere in the middle there. But we got to get into more detail, maybe offline, about your keto plan because I've been on my diet for about as long as you, and I'm up 4 pounds. So whatever you're doing, I need to do more of it because I think the fastest way for me to swing faster is still to get rid of this 15-pound weight that I'm carrying around in front of me. But
Yeah, so
struggling
yeah,
with that.
basically the crash course on the whole keto thing. I did a bunch of research, and over the break in between semesters, I've just dove into it because I was curious about it, and I dove into it. Long story short, you need to try to aim when you're first starting out for 50 grams or less of carbohydrate, net carbohydrate. So you take out the dietary fiber that's in, say, some nuts or whatever. If there's 5 grams of carbohydrate per serving of nuts, but there's 4 grams of dietary fiber, you have 1 gram of net carb. But basically, what it comes down to for most people is just getting rid of beer, soda, chips, cookies,
Okay,
any wheat type
stop
stuff,
right
gluten,
there.
wheat, stuff like that.
Garrett's, you've already lost Garrett. You already lost Garrett. You
He's
might as well
done.
not
John
even go
Daly,
Well,
it
that's what I
any
is.
told him.
further.
I said I was going to give you the crash
Well,
course,
but
but
he did help
but
me to
whiskey,
identify my golf
like
spirit
things,
animal. I'm clearly
yeah,
not Tiger. I'm
yeah, things like whiskey don't have carbs, so but still, it does take the body time to metabolize all that before. So if the body is metabolizing, it's not fasting, and you get into ketosis basically whenever you're in a fasted state. So that's where those longer fasting windows allow the body's blood sugar to stabilize. What puts on fat is glucose sending fat cells the signal to store the energy as fat versus being used or burned or breathed out or whatever. And carbohydrates, especially, you know, sugary, like refined sugary stuff and just straight carbohydrates, activate that glucose, activate that response to store fat. So that's where like the Atkins and all these other really low carbohydrate diets often work well for people is because they level out or they stabilize the blood sugar and allow the body to reset. And the body's just not constantly being bombarded with constant carbohydrates to be stored as fat. So I'm a bit of an extremist when it comes to this type of stuff. Like if and again, not everybody's the same way. If I was giving advice to you or to somebody else, I'd say start way slower than I did. I just like dove straight in, was like, all right, no more chips, no more carbs, no nothing. Right? It was crazy. Most people don't operate that way. I'm just a little bit of a outlier in that. That it just if I have a goal, I can do it. But it's been nice. It's nice to see the scale go down. The shirts fit better and the pants fit better, and energy goes up. And yeah, it's been really good. I've really enjoyed the results so far.
my pants are fitting
Uh,
better too now, but that's because I bought a bigger pair. So
He bought a bigger pair. That's one way.
You just get them stretchier. Well, I have to
Yeah.
say, I met Tony's lady friend over the holidays. She had us the best podcast crew over, and his lady friend is absolutely shredded. And I
Yes.
think the point is to have a better chance of success. It's you need to have support at home. And I've had clients where they get on a diet, but their spouse is not on the diet as well, and it makes it really hard to be successful. So it doesn't mean your spouse has to jump on your same diet plan, but if they can help, and I'm sure that Tony's lady friend is encouraging him and helping him with meals, and so he has a much better chance of success. And so, I mean, I can be your man friend, Garrett, and I can come
My
alongside
accountability
and
partner.
accountability buddy. You can write down everything you eat and text it to me every couple of days,
And
and
then
we
he'll
can
shame you.
go over it.
No.
I'm,
No.
I
No.
might be down for that. I need some accountability. You guys have already helped me with my accountability a little bit because not much. I mean, I'm not easy to hold to that, but at least having to get back on here every couple of weeks and talk to you guys, it's really bad when I just have to keep bringing up the same things over and over again. And you guys are like, well, did you listen to the last time we answered that question? So I'm trying to listen to, I'm trying to practice what y'all preach a little bit at least. But yeah, the weight thing is something that I've just noticed too. I mean, uh, the last couple of years, as I've gotten a little older, it's starting to catch up with me a little bit. My metabolism is just not what it was. I mean, I can follow the same plan that I was following 5 years ago, and it just doesn't work. So trying to figure out what that, I used to be able to follow basically what Tony's talking about to a T naturally. Just, I'd eat a couple of big meals a day, all protein. I mean, naturally, I'm a carnivore. I love protein. And but even if I do that, I'm doing that now just to maintain weight, to keep from gaining it. So, well, Tony, I told you I was going to hit you pretty hard today, but the good news is I think all of these are related. So it's basically just one question. I'm just going to come at you from 4 different angles, and I think the way I want to tell this is that yeah, you better
Yeah,
get your kung fu ready. It's
Get my
coming.
taekwondo. Gotta get my taekwondo going.
Yeah.
I'm going
So
taekwondo tonight. That's right. I'm going to taekwondo
So
tonight with the kids as orange belts. So y'all better watch out.
sweet. So over the break, right before I took the little break off for the holidays, I was playing pretty good, and I had a pretty consistent swing thought that I was working on that was just all about the way I rotate my body, the way I coil, and trying to stop popping out of posture, especially on my downswing. So most of the holidays, even though I didn't play, I'd sneak off to the bathroom and do drills and stuff once in a while, and it was all focused on staying in posture, right? I think when I got back, part of the problem is I was doing that part pretty well, but I was fatting the crap out of the ball. I mean, I thought I was going to break a club. I was hitting it so far behind the ball.
Could have told you that was going to happen.
Well, you didn't. I would have appreciated the tip
I
ahead of time.
I didn't know you were doing bathroom posture maintenance drills.
Well, hey, I'd figured out those heavy bag swings I was talking to you about last time. Those are really good at teaching you how the body's supposed to move. And I just tried to feel that a lot. And when I came back, it's like, okay, I'm doing part of this right, I think. But man, I'm hitting it so fast. And I told you this right before. I don't think we talked about it on the podcast, but the one thing about that last week that I played is that my attack angle and my launch angle had gotten to insane levels. Like an 8-iron, you're supposed to be about a 18, 20 degree launch and about a 5, 6, 7 degree attack. I was at like 12 on both of them. 12 degrees down, 12 degree launch.
Stingers.
So I knew that wasn't good. And then an odd thing about it is that that's what it is with the 8-iron, but with the lob wedge, I'm having a hard time not hitting it over the top of the net. My launch angle with a lob wedge is like 40 degrees where it's supposed to be 30. So I'm launching it really, really high with the lob, really about normal with the gap, and my attack is just ridiculously steep. So started playing around with, okay, why is that? And, I mentioned the New Year's Eve thing. The one thing that helped me play a little better in the tournament itself was trying to feel like I did extend my hips a little bit through impact. I don't want to go so far as to say jumping, even though because I know that a lot of people talk about the jump. It's not exactly jumping, but it is a similar feeling that you kind of get. Anyway, all of that eventually led me back to this term that I knew I had heard and I couldn't remember where. And I went back and it was from our podcast, parametric acceleration. I was like,
Oh my God, I know exactly where you
I
heard it
wonder if
from.
this has something to do with parametric acceleration. So then that turned into like, okay, well, what is parametric acceleration? Because I get what it is, but how do you create it? Is it from pulling up on the handle or is it from popping the hip up? So I've gone on my own little, tangent and rabbit hole on that, but I thought instead of me telling you all of the things that I have read but not really learned anything from, why don't you answer that question? What causes parametric acceleration? I know what it is. It's the sudden lifting of the handle and that causes it to play. Physically, it makes total sense. But what
Yeah,
is
it
your
doesn't
body
necessarily
doing
have
to create it?
doesn't necessarily have to be sudden, but yeah, basically we've got our golf club here again. I showed y'all this with like a back scratcher one time. So the golf club is moving down around in an arc, and then it starts to move up. The hands and the butt end of the club tells it, "Go on, girl, go on." The handle and the hands start to move up and left around the body. When that happens, just because the golf club is connected into one solid piece, it's going to release, let the loft, because right now this has like negative loft on it. And when I go here, now it has normal loft, right? So, how does it happen? It can happen in a myriad of ways. But if you are making a golf swing motion where you shift to the lead side and then you start to extend up, watch my shoulder. If my shoulder goes up, that's one way to do it, right? The shoulders are, I hate to use the word rotating, but they're traveling around an arc too. The stomach is, the hips are, the knees are, everything. So all that has to happen is you do have to have some raising through the rest of the swing. And I hate to, I don't like the idea of like pulling the hands because then you get into a chicken wing thing, and that just doesn't feel really, for a lot of people that doesn't work too well. But basically, what
Well, yeah,
happens is
let me
as you
interrupt
were
you there. Yeah, because that was actually one of the things that I saw a video or something on was talking about an active pulling. And I'm just sitting there thinking, I hadn't tried this, but I'm sitting there thinking that sounds like a death trap for me. That does not sound like that's going to end well. So,
yeah, no,
yeah, exactly.
because again, it doesn't have to, we're not talking much to get the club to go from here 90 degrees to here is not that much in the grand scheme of things, like because this is not the plane that the golf club is swinging on, but just a little tug, if I relax the hands here, just does all that, right? So the issue is, and this is where I was going to say I could have guaranteed or I could have predicted you're going to start hitting it fat, is you were used to extending standing up immediately in the downswing. Okay, when you do that, the club releases immediately for the most part. So what did you say you used to do? You tried to hold the angle as long as possible. That's because you were standing up too early. You're introducing that parametric acceleration too early. So then now that you're trying to stay in your posture, right, which you're doing a good job of that, well, now when the club gets down to here, you have no more extensions, so the club is hitting fat, right? When it tries to release, it's releasing too late. So you remember the old Tiger Woods power squat move back in the day, like where he'd with the driver, he'd like load up and squat and then go back up. That's basically the sequence that needs to happen. You don't have to like squat crazy. Again, we're talking about fractions here. We're not talking crazy movements, but it needs to be sequenced properly. So, you can either coil early in the downswing or in the backswing, kind of like I showed you way back in the summer. Some people coil and compress earlier. Some people shift and then drop a little bit. But once the club gets to about, that 90-degree angle, thigh high position or whatever, it has to start going up. The body has to start going up. There was a golf book that caught storm back in like 2010, 2008, 2007, somewhere around that time frame in the online community, online forums. And it was a guy, I have to go back and look up his name. I forget exactly what his name was, but he had a PDF he wrote called "The Golf Swing and Its Master Key." It's not Novacell. I don't remember what it is, but anyway, he was talking about the lead shoulder, and to him, the lead shoulder was the holy grail of the golf swing. And his old deal was focus on turning the lead shoulder down and under you, and then as you transition into the shot, you focus on the lead shoulder going up and out to the ball this way, That gives you an in to out path for most of the slicers, but it also gives you that. He didn't describe any of this, but it gives you that parametric acceleration that we're talking about. That pull, the lead shoulder is going up, which again, what are they talking about? Pulling the handle up. They're talking about pulling it up. Well, if this is all locked out and it's all one lever here, when I pull that up, it goes out.
Taking that back one more step, or taking it further one more step, where does that come from? That comes from the vertical force from your lead leg a lot of times, right? Isn't that a lot of times what's going to create that lift that you're talking
Yep.
about?
So you'll see in most, or a lot of golfers,
Which
they'll
gets
have
me
the
to the sideways deadlifts. Now you see where I came up with that.
all came from parametric acceleration. But
That's right.
but if you look at a lot of, your top golfers, the lead leg is straightening through impact, right? And the actual parametric acceleration in golf paper, I just looked it up again today, was from back like 2001. I think it's Kevin Mayura from the University of Tokyo back in the day. He wrote this paper, and it's basically a simulation that he conducted and tried to figure out if this was a feasible concept of what's happening, through the golf swing. But Chris Como and Sasha McKenzie also did a video, and I think McKenzie had a paper on it where we talked about that rope, the tugboat, right? If I pull, if this is a boat, or if this is the boat and this is the raft and this is the string, if I'm pulling in a straight line, it doesn't do anything to speed up the inflatable. It's going to go at the same rate as the boat. But as soon as it turns whoosh and shoots that tugboat out, or the inflatable, that's when people get thrown off a thing, right? It's that slingshot type effect. So in theirs, they were talking about it going this way, more up and in and to the left, causing that release to happen that way, that acceleration to happen that way.
I
I don't know if
remember.
that helps or if that answers any of your questions or not, but you don't have to overthink it. But what you can't do is continue to rotate. If you are powering the rotation really hard with the upper body through the shot, you never get that release. You never get that parametric release of the energy that way. If this is all just turning, 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 and you're hanging on to it, you'll never get there. And some of those videos I sent you on Instagram is the same type of thing, right? They're saying if you're trying to hold the lag forever, the club face is wide open, it never catches up. That video of Bryson and Wesley Bryan, right? He's saying he calls it stalling. Really, it's applying the brakes and letting everything catch up and release. Right, same type of deal. It's all the same stuff, and that's when I send you a lot of these videos. I'm like, it's all the same thing. It's all talking
Yeah.
about. It's like it's just all there. People just explain it in different ways.
No, it really is all the same thing. That's what I'm starting. I think the way I teed that up is that it's like 4 different questions, but it all I think is the same point. It's all that. And one of the things that I've been struggling with on that a little bit is I'm thinking, okay, I need to the motion you're talking about when I pop out of it, and then the parametric acceleration happens too early to me, and now I need to hold it longer. I'm thinking, but you just spent like 3 months telling me you don't hold lag. You don't hold lag. But the thing about it is, it's not necessarily an active releasing of lag. If I'm trying to hold, I don't have a club, but if I'm trying to hold those 3 bottom knuckles on my lead hand to the club, well, when I start to go up, in order to maintain that, it unhinges the left wrist. But there's 2 different ways that I can make this pin move 90 degrees. I can push down on one side or I can lift up on the other, right? And it's still an unhinging, but rather than that unhinging being from almost like you're pushing the right thumb down towards the ball, now you're pulling up, but you're not actively pulling. It's coming from that lead hip. So I'm it is starting to click a little bit, and that, oh yeah, it really is. You've basically given me one golf lesson in 6 months, but it's the same lesson over and over from different ways of different applications of it, I guess.
Yeah. So, in the golfing machine, they talk about different power sources, and the right arm thrusting is a form of power if someone chose to use that, right? This is a potential power source. But again, then you're really relying on small muscles to do that, triceps and this, versus let's just move the big, all encompassing body together in a way that allows it all to happen. But yeah, so what I'm saying is you don't hold, I'm not telling you to hold the lag in this, what I'm saying now. What I'm saying is you just need to sequence the extension in the right place. So
Right.
I'd have to get
Yeah.
up to demonstrate, but basically, should we use Cujo again?
Yeah. Get Cujo out.
Basically,
Cujo
if
is a
this is the
great
guy in the golf
teaching aid.
posture, yeah, this is golf posture. You swing back and then you just stand up. That's too early, right? That's what most people do. They never stay in their posture. As soon as they start to rotate or the golf club starts to come back this way, they're already standing up. What you're doing now is you're staying here the whole time. You're staying in your posture. What we need to happen is you stay in your posture and then it comes up, right?
Yeah.
Basically, from
Yeah.
right thigh through the shot is when we start extending for that parametric acceleration to happen, such that you can let the angles out and not fat it, such that you don't have to hold anything to avoid fatting it, such that you get free energy, pow, into the ball.
And that
But
really
even with
is where
extension, you can still keep your head in the posture. Like, it doesn't mean there's another problem. Like, if this is the golfer and this is their head, most people, they extend like this. They just stand everything straight up. Whereas you can extend the legs and still keep the head relatively in the same plane. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and that's kind of where the deadlift thing really did. I was joking about it earlier, but there is truth in it. Because one of the things whenever I first heard the tip, basically, that you jump in your downswing or through impact, I could hit the ball really hard doing that, but I always had this super high follow through, and it usually turned into a gigantic draw. So I could hit the hell out of it, but it was going to be way left. So as I've kind of come full circle with it, it's like, all right, well, I need to be doing some version of that. It's not exactly the same way I was doing it before, but it's basically just that same thing, but you're waiting until your body is more facing the target before you initiate it. But if I get my body, again, I'm trying to be careful not to get to the point where it's just like rotate, rotate, rotate and get as open as you can. But I feel like I almost have to feel it, the feel. It's not, I've done it in front of a mirror. It's not how it is. I almost have to feel like I'm completely facing the target before I extend, like 90 degrees to the target, parallel to the target line before I extend. But when I do that in front of a mirror, it's just my body my shoulders are still square. A big lesson for me lately has been that hip dissociation is not the difference between your hips and your belly button. It's the difference in your torso and your shoulders. It's okay to get your stomach on through the ball and facing down the target line before impact. You just want to leave your shoulders back. And now I just have to kind of feel like I get there before I extend. And again, I've not even tried this yet, but I think that's where I'm kind of going with this, is that as long as I'm holding the posture long enough to get down to that position you're talking about, I can extend the crap out of it through impact. And in fact, I need to. It's not, and then that's what releases the club, because good luck trying to hold on to the golf club and not
When you're going
release it
up.
while
Correct.
you're firing your
Yep.
hips that hard.
And that's what I've always told, you can go up and down the driving range and you can watch people, and people that, are in golf posture and they stand up immediately, they're never going to have power and lag because it's already gone. And again, there's a difference between extending the hips this way, firing hips forward, and going vertical out of posture, or going vertical
I
through the
told you on the
shot.
beginning, this is the best golf podcast ever, and this is why. Where else do you get a stuffed?
That's right. Stuffy.
What is that?
Because you got
What kind of dog
dads with
is that?
kids. It's a wolf. It's a
Husky?
husky or whatever.
Wolf?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But right, this doesn't do anything.
Okay,
This
you lost
doesn't
me
do
there.
anything.
And
This
there's
is
your
what you
highlight
get.
reel. There's your
This is
highlight
what
reel.
you get.
This is hard.
That's what
This
you
is
get when you
hard
don't
for
let me
that
stand
guy.
up.
We're both single right now, and you're wolf. It's just I'm not in a good place right
This is
now.
what
I'm
That wolf
saying
is
this.
that wolf's getting more action than I have in a year. Man,
Look, this is what happens when you restrict me from standing up. When I can't demonstrate, I gotta sit here.
you now
I gotta
have
sit
full
here like a
reign,
good
Tony.
boy, and I gotta
You
figure out other
feel
ways to explain things. We're gonna get
you
a
now
little
have full
X-rated. You
reign,
have to
Tony.
put a
Feel
little
free to roam
blurry on
about the
the.
cabin, bud.
You have to blur out the wolf there.
Oh man.
That'd be
Okay.
a
Well,
good.
that's enough.
I hope my mom
That's
doesn't
enough
watch this
parametric
episode.
acceleration. Seriously.
Well, so
One last question. We're
one more
totally.
thing. I was gonna say one more thing on it.
Okay.
Is again, we talk about the people coming out of posture, jumping, whatever. Again, there's a difference between the hips coming forward and the head going backward, and extending and standing. Does that make sense? Like the
Yeah.
lead leg
So
can
Mike
straighten and the left shoulder can go up without the whole hips and everything going this way.
So Mike or Tony, either one of you, what is a good? Are we back to the cable chops there? I mean, what's something you can do in the gym to train that feeling?
Cable chops and medicine ball tosses, I say, are pretty good.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Before we have to get Cujo back out, different different topics. So on the topic of practice habits, I think I may have turned a corner so much that I've done a complete U-turn, but I've noticed a lot here lately that when I'm starting to get into my head a little bit with my swinger, I'm getting too many things in my head, too many thoughts, too many mechanics, whatever. The way I reset is to say, okay, I'm just going to go play 9 holes or 18 holes, or I'm just going to go play. Because once I get on the golf, when I'm playing a round of golf on the simulator or whatever, it sort of forces me to abandon all the swing thoughts and just try to hit golf shots. And surprisingly, I end up playing better. So I've ended up going on a little kick where that's most of my practice time now. I'm going in, I'm hitting about 15, 20 balls to get loose. And once I'm loose, I'm playing 18 holes or 36 or ever how long I'm there. I think I've logged like 23 rounds in the last month just on the sim. And thinking back to it, some of the best golf I've ever played, none of the best golf I've ever played has happened at a time that I was pounding 300 golf balls a day. All of my best golf has come from times that I was playing 36 a day or 54 a day when I was in college. And maybe practicing for 30 minutes or an hour here and there when I didn't have time to play 18, but I was mostly on the golf course. And it just gave me this epiphany. It's like, well, if we spent so much time on the podcast talking about ways you can simulate golf situations in your practice. One of the best ways to simulate golf situations in your practice is to practice by just going out and playing. So I've almost come full circle to the point where it's like, that's my practice routine. If I need to work on some drills, I'll do that. But I'm just going to play a boatload of golf on the sim and see how many holes I can log. And, it for, simplest explanation, is there a better way to simulate playing golf than to just play golf? Or is that too much? Is that too extreme?
No, again, you want to play like the best, you got to model how they
That was
play.
a long pause for a one-word answer.
Well, I didn't know if Mike was going to jump in. I was waiting for Mike. Uh,
Thank
I
you,
would say if you want
Tony.
to simulate,
Nice.
if you want to be, you're welcome. You want to model your training and practice habits after those who do it best. And again, that's the whole point of the practice rounds. The pros play those 2 practice rounds before each tournament. What are they doing? They're playing the course. Now they might drop 2 or 3 balls in different scenarios and simulate different rough lies, or if you got a plugged bunker lie here, this, that, and the other. But that's what they're doing is they're on the golf course. They're not simulating the round on the driving range. They're going to the golf course to play. So yeah, if you want to, have the best transfer, we in the PGA lingo they call it transfer practice, right? Like what can you do in practice that transfers directly to the golf course or most closely to the golf course? So if you're doing short game practice, it's not just hitting the same chip 30 times in a row. It's varying the lie every time, varying the target, making a game where you have consequences, right? Point values, stuff like that to try and put pressure on it. Yeah, but there's no substitute for actually being on the course. And that's the hard part, right? Is because people are like, I want to get better at golf. And so they think, well, therefore I have to get a perfect golf swing first, or I got to get a perfect putting stroke. And it's like, well, that's just, not necessarily how golf works, right?
Yeah.
Because
What do you
again,
think?
driving range mats are always
Go
nice
ahead.
and flat, but the golf course is not.
Oh, that's where
Yeah.
I would run into because I'd go hit over at McGregor on the mats. Or even when I was playing baseball, I'd go hit in the cage for like I think I was like Garrett's twin when it came on the baseball side. I would just live in the cage, and then I'd get out into a game like this doesn't feel like anything because I spent so much time in the cage, but I'm not in live game action. But I wanted to ask you guys. So I work with guys, they're playing 3 to 5 times a week. And I obviously ask them how was your last round? Tell me about it. And a lot of times it's the same stuff. They're running into the same problems, they're playing the same course and they're running into the same issues. So how do you if you're playing 3 to 5 times a week but you're not practicing, what do they have to do to get better? Do they have to like play one of those rounds like this is a practice round? Because these guys play so much, they're not practicing. They may go putt a little bit, but they're not going to the chipping area, which is on the other side of the course, over by me. It's over by the gym. They're not. I never see my guys chipping in the chipping area. So how do Garrett's like, you just got to
Yeah.
play more. But my guys that are playing every day and they're not getting better. Yeah, what do you do?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's a all multifaceted part of the puzzle you're working on here. And yes, the drills and the swing technique is a part of it. The putting games, the short game games are a part of it. But what I would say probably for them is they need to do two main things. They need to start actually doing some data logging and statistical analysis of their game. Which holes give them the most trouble? Like, which one do they double or triple bogey the most often? And why? Is it the tee shot? Is it the approach? Whatever. And then you can start to formulate a game plan. Even if you're not going to work on your actual skills, you can formulate a game plan to try and play the game differently. Right. So we've got a hole out at Eagle Ridge. Garrett knows which one I'm talking about, number 12. Okay, and number 12 is probably the hardest driving hole on the golf course because especially from the tips, there's just no place to miss it and there's trouble everywhere and it's always blowing left to right. So the ball always gets pushed towards the hazard and this, that, and the other. And so what I've told people is, they're always stressed about this shot. I said, what if I told you this was a par five or a par four and a half instead of a par four? How would that change how you'd play this hole? They'd be like, oh, well, I probably wouldn't do what I normally do. I'd do it this way, and then I'd lay up, and then I'd pitch on, and I'd try to make up and down for a five instead of a four. And I was like, cool, play it that way for the next four times you play it, and let me know how you get on. Oh, I averaged like a five overall. I'm like, and would you take a five on that hole if I gave you a five from the tee box from the tips every single day? They said, absolutely. I'm like, well, there you go. Right. So sometimes it's just reframing a hole from being a par four to a par five, a par three to a par four, whatever. Because really what we're trying to do is take away the big number. Where's the six? Where's the seven? Where's the eight? Right? Where's the 10? How do we avoid those? But if they start tracking their stats too, they'll also see, okay, I only get up and down 20% of the time. Okay, I have six three putts around. Okay, I hit four balls out of bounds on certain holes, or certain stretches. And so then they either need to just aim better or they need to choose a different club and accept that they're not going to get on in two or whatever the case may be. But if you're not tracking your stats and you don't have a dedicated strategy to addressing those troublesome holes or those stretches or whatever, again, you're just playing and then don't get mad if you don't get better.
There is a balance, I think, between the two extremes. I mean, and I think I would frame it like this maybe. When I'm playing really bad, I tend to approach practice as, okay, I'm going to practice, you know, 20% of my time on shots inside 100 yards and 20% of my time on irons and 20% on chipping and putting and 20% on my driver, 20% on my whatever I've not said yet, long irons, whatever. But it's somehow, and it may not be even proportions, but it's some allocation to working on every part of my game a little bit. And then when I'm playing a lot, it's not that I just refuse to practice, but some of the best golf I ever played, I was working at Greenville Country Club and when I was in college, and they didn't have a very good driving range. It was only like 200 yards long, so I never really got to hit driver a whole lot. But I had to work on my short game a lot. And that was when I was playing a lot because it's like, well, I don't have a driving range really, so I hardly ever went over there. But what would happen is if I had a round where I went out and shot, 75 with 4 3-putts, then I would go back, and if I was struggling with speed, then I would spend an hour working on 30 to 50-foot lag putting. And if I had a round where I shot 77 and missed, 6 putts inside of 5 feet, then I'd spend an hour working on short putts. And it's almost reactionary to your performance as opposed to trying to consciously work on every single aspect of your game. And I don't know, Tony, I don't know if this is, I'm not suggesting this is a solution as much as maybe a question. Is that a smart way to play? Because some players are going to naturally be better at certain things than others. I tend to be, a decent, hell, I don't even know what to tell you I'm good at. I used to say I was a good driver of the golf ball, but I don't feel like I can hit a fairway if my life depended on it right now. That's been my weakness. But
I think you need
I
a new
tend to be a
driver.
pretty solid.
I'm just saying I think you need a new driver. That's just me being honest with you.
I think so too. I think we need to talk about that. I also need some grips. I mean, you've gave me grief over my grips before. They are literally peeling off of about 4 clubs at this point. I've got to, I need to come I need to come see you at some point here pretty soon. But no, I think that
He waits till
I
the
mean every
start
other
of the
club in the bag.
semester to
I'm
talk to me about this. Let's come over and do right as the
yeah
about to get crazy busy. Had the whole winter break, but
yeah.
now he's like, "Well, I need some new grips."
Our free time doesn't line up because when you get home for Christmas break, I have kids home for Christmas break. So that was like the 2 weeks I could do nothing was when you were out. So
Fair
yeah,
enough.
that was a problem. But I've got to a lot of times though it was you can just kind of react to your and stat tracking is something I've gone too far on. I had it to a point where I was keeping so many stats that I mean PGAtour.com has nothing on what I was keeping up with. I had everything. You can overanalyze,
Yeah,
but
the amount of
you need
Wow.
sweat
to
he
have
was
your
producing per
basics.
round.
Yeah. I mean, Tony, what you got? Fairways, greens, up and down percentage, putting. I think, your basics. You need to know your fundamentals. Where are your
Yeah, so
strengths and your weaknesses?
here's one of the things where I would say yes, but let's modify it a little bit differently. So instead of fairways, you can track fairways, but also track what's called good drive. And good drive is just basically you advance the ball and you have a clear shot at the green. You're not obstructed by trees, you're not in a hazard or whatever, right? So good drive just means it was basically in play, not behind trees or other hazards, right? Not in a fairway bunker. And then the other one, I would say, instead of greens in regulation, you can track that, but also track near green in regulation. And a near green in regulation would basically be the fringe or anywhere that theoretically you could putt or a chip.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the only two things I would add to that pretty much. And then my frowny faces,
Yeah,
add your
because I mean,
frowny
I've had
faces.
I think that's the most important stat, honestly. I mean, I think that's a great, and that's something I never tracked before, but it's probably the thing it's probably the highest correlator to score that I've seen is
The
the
frowny face.
frowny
Mhm.
faces.
No, remind me again what why
When you
the
when
frowny face?
Yeah, the frowny face was basically if you made a mental mistake or if you didn't commit to a shot or you didn't go through your routine or something, right? Or you didn't get over a shot that didn't go your way. So in a hole, how many frowny or in the round of golf, how many frowny faces do you have? And I think what I found for me is if I can keep my frowny faces under 5, I typically will have a very low round. And so when you write that first frowny
yeah.
face, that's supposed to be your trigger to wake up, dummy, right? And get back in the game, let it go, let the past be the past or whatever. And if you start to see 2 or 3 frowny faces back to back to back, then you really need to wake yourself up because obviously something's in your head or you're not focused.
Well, and to Tony's other point there about the statistics, I mean, when I finish up around at Sully's, I go in and look at the stats. It tracks it for you. And I've had rounds where I feel like I drove the ball great, and it says I hit 4 fairways, but it's because I was in the light rough 6 feet out of the fairway 5 times, right? Or days that I felt like I was really dialed in on my irons, and it says I hit 8 greens, but I was just off the fringe 7 times, things like that. So stats can be misleading, but I've also heard the one too for higher handicap players: 3 putts, penalty shots, and what's the other? There's a third one that's usually mixed into that. Penalty shots, double chips. I think it's the third one that I've heard for higher handicap players. If you're chipping, get it on the green and just don't ever end up flubbing or sculling chips. 3 putts and penalty shots. And I mean, I've had rounds that got away with me from those things. Those are just kind of, man, you talk about wasted shots. Those are some that you definitely feel
Yeah.
like can
Yeah,
pile up
well,
on you
and
in a
even
hurry.
just
So
that for the higher handicap, being aware of that, no 3 putts and no 2 chips changes how aggressive you are with that initial shot, right? Let's say you're just off the green, but there's a ridge, let's say you've got the pin here and then there's a ridge and it goes down to another part of the green where if you hit that ridge, you're toast. Now you're 3 putting easily, right? It's just okay. Maybe the chip isn't the play here because I have a tendency to thin them a little bit. Maybe I do just need to putt it somewhat defensively to try to get it to within 8 feet of the hole, and then I 2 putt from there, maybe make the 8 foot putt. But it's almost like going through a hierarchy, like you talked about planes and the plane crashes. Like, what's my checklist? Okay, engines, fuel, blinkers, whatever your car, whatever you do in your car or whatever vehicle you operate. But having that process to say, okay, what's the main priority here? Okay, don't hit it out of bounds. Cool. So we're either going to take drive and we're going to aim it way over here to where out of bounds is not even a factor because there's probably room over here, another fairway or something. Because that's where the big holes and the blow up holes come is someone tries to do something they're not skilled enough to do or their game's just not there yet, and that's how they blow the score up doing stuff they don't have any business doing. Like you can save like 110 shooter, you can save them strokes, even a 90s 80s shooter, you could save them strokes every round. just by having them play slightly less aggressively when they don't need to.
Yeah, that was a good friend of mine. We used to play a decent amount of golf together, and he was a high 80s, low 90s player, and that was his thing. Was when we played together, he always played better, but it was always from him just saying, "Where should I hit this?" And I would just tell him the simple things like, "No, why are you aiming for that back right pin that's got 6 feet of room to work with when you can miss it as far left as you want to all day long? And then when you get down there to chip, why are you trying to hit a flop shot here? Get it on the green. Would you take a 5 from here? Yeah, I take 5. Well, then just hit a little bump and run and get it up there.
I mean,
It
yeah,
reminds me a
even
little bit, Tony, of when you and I met this year. That was my first. I think it was your first round of the year. Maybe you had said you were just, and I was like, it was maybe my fourth, and we both kind of said to each other, we were just trying to knock the rust off a little bit. Did I play a heck of a lot more conservative that day than I would, now? Because coming out of the winter break and haven't played much golf in 5 years or whatever, if I was 20 yards off the green, anything on the green, I was going to be okay with. You know what I mean? So even better players after a long break, I mean, don't do the just don't do anything stupid. That's a pretty decent strategy
yeah, I mean,
a
like,
lot of
think about
times.
it. Again, where do your big scores come from? They often come from out of bounds tee balls or penalty balls or three putts or two chips. You're right. So almost thinking about it like this, like let's imagine every hole has a wall, like a Mission Impossible laser beam wall. And if your ball touches that wall, you're done golfing for the rest of the day. You know what I mean? Like if people would
Mm,
almost like
yeah.
operate with that kind of tunnel vision, I'm not allowed for the ball to go anywhere over here or over here. How would they play to just keep it in play? I mean, and again, most people who are a 80 shooter or whatever, they have a club that they can hit at least 125, 150 yards and keep it within a 60-yard window. Well, how long is a short par four? 360 to 400 yards. If they just went 8 iron, 8 iron wedge, they could break 90 almost every single time if that's how far the par fours are, right? Because they're going to make a bogey at worst, So it's like there's ways to do it, even if your skills with the other clubs, driver, or whatever, isn't quite where you want it to be yet. There's ways to play the game with way less stress, but it has to match obviously the skill level and what your goals are and what you're trying to accomplish. And this is the thing I find coaching though is a lot of people say they want to improve their scores, but really what they want to do is just hit the ball better and have a nice swing. They don't really care about the scores because if I told them if I took your driver out of the bag and only gave you these six clubs, you'd probably shoot the best score of your life. And if you let me coach you and tell you exactly where to hit it and what to do, they're like, "Well, that doesn't sound any fun." I'm like, "I know." So you see what I'm saying? It's like a conflation of interests. I want my scores to drop, but I only wanna do it this way, and so it's a tough thing. Like I said, I shot even par with
Well,
that 4 club challenge with just
and to what I
4
was
clubs, like and that was not sexy golf. It wasn't anything fancy. Just try to get it on or near the green and figure it out from there.
I remember when I was in high school, I had my driver being worked on. I don't know if it was getting reshafted or what, but I didn't have a driver one day, and I went out and played I just had to tee off with a 3-wood the whole round. 13 out of 14 fairways and shot 72, and I was like, "Why do I have a driver in the first place?"
Well, I mean, think
And then
about it,
I've
right?
had, to the point that I was yeah, to the point I was making a minute ago about when you and I met, I was playing a little bit more on the conservative side, and then you look at how many shots I pissed away over the summer when I was playing a little bit, trying to hit those impossible 2-iron cut hybrids and all that stuff. I mean, like, I wouldn't have tried that in February, but, I'll try it in August. And, I know I've told this story before, but my ultimate example of this, there was one round I shot like 46 and lost almost every ball in the bag on the front nine, and I only had one left. And I got to the back nine, and I was like, I don't care, come hell or high water, I just can't lose this ball. Shot 37 on the back. I'd hit nothing but like 4-iron off the tee because I was just trying to stay out of trouble and shoot 37. So, yeah, there's a lot that can be learned from those types of things.
Absolutely. And again, I think the stats from Arcos have increased a little bit, but I think the average scratch or I think a scratch golfer a few years ago they only averaged I think it was 240 or 250 off the tee. That's not far. It's not this monster 300-yard drives. But again, if
Yeah.
people are playing the appropriate length tee boxes for their distances, then they have the chance to shoot the scores they want. If they don't, you are playing a harder game. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And people can learn a lot too just by saying, okay, If I was going to play the safest round of golf possible, to get one of those apps, like a GPS app or anything online. There's different apps you can find online, Google Earth even or whatever. It's like if I can only hit the ball 200 yards with a tee shot, how would I play this round of golf? Where do I have to put this ball, or where's the safest place for the first shot? Then if you can't get on in two, where's the safest place for the next shot? Now when you get onto the green, where can I not be? Where's the dangerous spot on the green? Just and literally just drop a ball there, right? And now you've kind of got a strategy for the safe golf. But again, and this is the other thing too that's just so mind-boggling, is if people would just work from 30 yards and in with their chipping and their putting, they would save so many strokes. So many strokes. Because if we know we're not going to get there in two 9 times out of 10, or we're not going to get on in green regulation 9 times out of 10, you have to work on your short game. You have to. And that's the easy stuff because it's free. You can go to any public course and go to the chipping and the putting green. People just don't want to do it. They just don't want to do it. Even if it's just get a hybrid shot that you can punch
Boring.
and putt.
No fun.
You see, exactly. It's no fun. So they don't do it. So they don't get lower scores.
Yeah.
Because that ain't no fun.
All right, boys. Well, I think that's enough for today. Well, thank you both as always. And
Thanks,
if you're still here listening or watching us, we appreciate all of your time, and hit them good out there, guys. Appreciate it. Talk to y'all later.
Tony, I'll see you Saturday.
What do you want for your
Happy
birthday?
birthday, then, and I'm so sorry I'm not going to be there. Happy early birthday in my absence. I need to... Hang on. Y'all hush. Be quiet.
Dad is trying to say something.
This is important. You're interrupted. Anyway.
What do you want for your birthday?
Just nothing. Everybody to show up. They say they're going to show up.